Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. Today's Hellraiser blog we're going to look at Carl Frampton versus Nonito Donaire. Big fight. As a boxing fan, I'm really excited about this fight. Ideally, I would have liked to see the fight made a few years ago, maybe at Super Bantam, when Carl was still unbeaten, still a world champion, on his way up, sort of thing. Hopefully, Carl still is on his way up, but at that time it would have been like an absolute phenomenal fight. It's not exactly gone under the radar, and I'm sure in both the Philippines and in Belfast people are really excited about it, but it isn't like the marquee sort of big like Hatton versus Pacquiao or Mayweather or something like that. It's gone a little bit under the radar as far as those sort of quantities are excited. Anyway, let's look at the fight. So I think there's like 1 centimetre in difference in height between them, so there's not much going on there. Now, Donaire boxed from, I think, flyweight upwards, and he's always sort of been viewed as the smaller guy, as if he had a weight disadvantage. I mean, now he's won previously a world title at featherweight. He looks small at the weight then, but then now, with a few years, obviously he's matured and probably grown into the weight a little bit more. It's a super bout. It's going to be a really good fight to watch. Certainly it's the fight that catches my imagination this weekend. I mean, a journalist from Boxing News rang me to ask me who I was looking forward to seeing the most out of the Amir Khan versus Phil LaGreco or Frampton versus Donaire. Definitely Frampton Donaire. This is a big fight, and although Donaire is going to Belfast, into Frampton's hometown, it's absolutely not a given that Frampton wins this. I mean, Donaire is, without a shadow of a doubt, a world-class puncher. Donaire's left hook, in fact, he has about 3 different or 4 different types of left hook. He throws the left hook there. He throws like a left hook that almost looks like an overhand left, like an amateur left hook, where they teach you to raise the elbow, but he's not. I mean, look at the knockout against Vic Darchanian. It's like I say, it's almost like an overhand left, but it's definitely got knockout power in it. He's also got like a short left hook, and then he's got the uppercut, his left uppercut, which is tremendous as well. So Carl Frampton needs to really be on his game for this fight. And if Frampton loses concentration, Carl is phenomenal at sticking to game plans, and he needs to have a very strict defensive game plan in this fight. I think defensively, I definitely give Frampton an edge in this fight. I think Carl has maybe a bit more of a methodical mind in how he approaches a fight. Donaire, you may have seen him box before. If you haven't, he's a guy really you can tell he fights with passion. You can see he's quite an extroverted character, and he goes in there. He must have a game plan when he goes in, but a lot of the time he looks quite creative. He looks like he's sort of not exactly making it up as he goes along, but just pulling things out from wherever his genius mind manages to pull it from. And I mean, say for example, a while back he boxed Vic Darchanian, who's a good fighter, good fighter. Was based in Australia for a long while. So against Darchanian, he's clearly behind on points. He's getting beaten on points and sort of outmanoeuvred. And he just pulls these sort of moves from nowhere that even someone as experienced and as vastly sort of qualified as Darchanian just did not see it coming, And he sort of rips Darchanian out of his comfort zone, forces him to fight at a pace that is incredible, and then lands these massive shots on him. For that reason, I think this. I don't think it's a fight where you can say, look, he's calculated to pick off like a great champion at the right time, because we don't know that Donaire's finished yet. I mean, he has been beaten. He has lost fights, but so almost like, especially as the fights at featherweight. And Donaire has had a long while now since he won that world title at featherweight and then lost it. So I'm expecting Donaire to come in as a fully fledged. He's not, because what I mean by this is before Donaire could have, if he'd have boxed Frampton as a super bantam, I think you'd have seen them walking into the ring Donaire maybe putting on like £5 or £6, Frampton putting on £15 plus, meaning that by the time they get in the ring, Frampton would have just been too big for him. And I still think Frampton will be the bigger guy on the night, but Donaire has had time now to grow into the weight division, into the featherweight weight class, and I think it will be a lot closer than what it would have been in terms of size, and they get in there, and probably strength too. In terms of punching power, I'm going to say I side with Donaire. I think Donaire is the more concussive hitter. His punch variety, the selection of punches for opponents is incredible from Donaire. He is truly, even in this sort of age where we have all these different world titles and super champions and all the international champions and intercontinental champions, I would say Nonito Donaire is a genuine world-class fighter. I'm not saying he's necessarily the best in the world at featherweight, because I think you have to probably side with Leo Santa Cruz, who has a win and a loss against Frampton. But because he won like the second fight, I think for the moment we've got to side with him, even though then it was a way for... But both fights with Frampton were very, very close. There's not a lot between them. You've also got Jesse Magdaleno at that weight. I mean, the featherweights is really, really heating up. And what I really like about this phase that we're in now in boxing is that the best are ending up fighting the best, because with the pay-per-view model that's in place, it makes sense to do that. Even if not every fight, you know that if you put yourself on that platform where everybody wants to watch you, it's so easy to go and make those massive numbers, to get those massive paydays. And I think whoever wins out of Frampton and Donaire for sure is going to move on to a massive payday next fight after this. Although Donaire's away from home, like I say, I really don't see it as a walk in the park for Frampton. This is a hard fight, and even if he's winning after 11.5 rounds, he can still get knocked out. That's what's exciting about this fight. Donaire can pull something out. In fact, he's a specialist at pulling things out of the bag, as we've seen with him many times. And anyone that doubts that, I mean, watch the fights with Darchinyan, because so many fighters would have got frustrated and fallen apart as a result of what Darchinyan was putting together. And you're going to see Donaire push to the limit, because Frampton's a big guy, he's a very strong guy, and he's a sort of educated pressure fighter, and he's going to really put the pressure on Donaire, and at the same time have to have his mind on defence. I mean, I want to see Frampton's hand there, or there. I mean, if he lets it down for 1 second, that can be it. It can cost him the fight. So I'm still gonna go. I'm siding with Frampton to win it, and I really like Carl. Obviously, I worked with him as a matchmaker for a while, and very, very down to earth guy. Impossible to dislike Carl Frampton. Really, really sort of down to earth guy. Not the sort of fighter to get carried away, and that I think weighs heavily in his favour here. That he's had big fights before, and he's got his feet firmly on the ground. Carl doesn't get carried away with all the hullabaloo that happens with the big fights. Donaire, although he's had a lot of big fights, I see him as more erratic mentally, and I think certainly from a betting point of view, I think because of that you've got to side with Frampton, maybe on points. Well, in fact, no, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Frampton on points, because I think you might not see the most spectacular fight from Carl Frampton. I think it will be spectacular, because I can't imagine Nonito Donaire being in a fight that isn't spectacular. He's a guy that only really does one thing, and that is line people up for big shots. And I think it will be interesting to see how Frampton deals with that, because if he can keep it just to boxing and keep it at a low pace and keep just almost a chess match, I think Frampton wins. If Donaire gets through with some big shots, especially if he gets through early and drags Carl into a hard fight early on, God knows what will happen. I don't know, and don't expect Nonito Donaire to be at all intimidated by anything he'll see in Ireland. I mean, Ireland actually, to go as an away fighter, it's a good place. I went there boxing, and they really make you feel special. The crowds there, they love boxing, they love all sport, and they're sort of very generous in their sort of applause and their support of away fighters as well as home fighters. So I think we're going to see a great event. I'm going for Frampton on points. Enjoy your boxing. Please, people, give us a subscribe if you enjoyed the blog, because we rely on your subscribes to keep the blog going. All right, thank you guys, and I'll see you again next week. See you then. Bye-bye.